Hello and welcome back. We're here. We're back. We skipped a week because me and my family were all very sick. I couldn't do anything. Definitely could not sit down here and film. I did try. I tried to film. I sat down. I said like 4 words and I died. So I was like, I'm just not gonna do it. And so we skipped a week. But we're good now. I'm feeling a lot better. Still like a little sick. So I'm going to have to edit out a few coughs here and there, but that's fine. If you are new here, my name is Charlie, and this is just going to be a wrap up of the things that I've read in January and a little bit of, future projections. So what am I currently reading? Because again, we are already in February, and what do I plan on reading this month? And so today we're just going to jump right into it. So the first thing that I read in the month of January, or the first thing that I finished, because this and the next one that I'll talk about, I started last month technically, but for whatever reason, they just spilled over into this month. So that's fine. Lost Ark Dreaming is the first of those. This was cool. I think I ended up landing on like a 3.5 for this book. I liked it. It was really cool. The characters were neat. The setting I thought was really cool. The beginning especially I really liked. And by the end, I don't know why, but I felt like I was ready for it to end sooner, which says a lot because it's so short. It's a novella length story, and for whatever reason, I just felt like I was ready for it to come to a close sooner than it did. But that's probably just me. This was a great story. I would definitely recommend it. I just wanted it to hit me a little harder than it did. That's all. But like I said, the setting itself was really cool, I thought. And I did appreciate the sort of commentary that this author was making when they were telling this story. Commentary on just like the real world and real life. Maybe a little heavy-handed, but necessarily so, I think, just to make sure that they really got their point across. So I liked it. This was good. I would recommend it. It's, a sci-fi post-apocalyptic sort of story, set here on Earth, but like, different stuff. At least I think it's set here on Earth. I'm pretty sure that it is. Something that I think the author did really well was that we followed 3 main characters essentially, but the 3 main characters are together for almost the entirety of the story. So we're following all 3 of them, but we're kind of shifting perspectives in the same like room, but sequentially. So we're not playing out the same scene 3 times through their different eyes and all that. None of that. But it is like we have a chapter where we're in this person's perspective, and then we switch to this other person's perspective, and a lot of the times it's right away. It picks up right from where the other one left off, and we're in this other person's eyes, and that was cool, and it was really well done. They each had a very distinct voice, I think, and they each kind of their backstory unfolded on its own, independent of the others, but in a way that it made sense that these 3 seemingly random characters are the ones who are, the focus of the story. Like we know why we're following these people by the end. So really, really well done in that regard. But I do think, and again, this is just me. This is not any commentary really on the book, but I think I must have like glazed over a couple pages or something like that, because by the end, I'm not entirely sure what happened, I feel like, and that might just be that I missed something. I feel like maybe I missed something. I don't know that I fully understand the ending of the book, and I don't know if that's my understanding, but I think that's just like a lapse in my own understanding of the story. I don't think it's on the author. If you've read this, let me know if you had a similar experience, but I feel like maybe it was trying to leave a lot of things like kind of open-ended, like a little bit up to your interpretation, which can be really fun. I love having a lot of questions and things that I have to interpret on my own at the end of a book. I think that's a really fun part of some stories, is like kind of the unknown. Here, I felt like it was a little too much, or like the questions that I had, I feel like should have been answered, some of them. But again, that could very well just be my fault. If you are looking for a quick read and you like sci-fi, you like sort of dystopian post-apocalyptic type stuff, and you're interested in hearing a little bit of a commentary on class systems, this is a good book to check out for sure. And then of course after that I did finish Brandon Sanderson's Wind and Truth, which I put a whole review video of this with kind of all of my spoiler-free thoughts on this book. So I'll pretty much redirect you to that if you want to hear more of what I thought about this. But to sum it up, I loved it. This was really good. I had some issues with it, or I don't know if I'd even call them issues, but a few small gripes that I address in my review video of it. And, mostly they didn't matter. There were a couple things that, stuck out that I thought were worth mentioning, but overall this was great. Like a 4.5 for sure. I haven't yet done like a full write-up of my thoughts, which I do want to do because I want to talk a little bit about some spoiler filled thoughts, and I haven't done that yet. So be on the lookout. If you follow me on Goodreads or Hardcover or Fable, I'll be dropping that probably sometime this week. If not this week, then next week. But yeah, again, it was really good. I had a really good time with that. I'm a little sad that I don't have much Cosmere left in terms of like what is currently out. I have one Brandon Sanderson Cosmere book left, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, before I'm completely up to date with the current catalog. So that's very exciting, but it's also like a little bit, I'm going to take my time. I don't think I'm going to dive into Yumi anytime soon. I'm going to wait for, when I'm missing a Brandon Sanderson book, like when I get in the mood really for one of his stories, then I'll pick that one up. I'm in no rush to be Cosmere complete, I don't think. After finishing those two books, I did pick up and complete two other books, and both of these were read through buddy reads, two separate buddy reads. Both buddy reads hosted over on Andrew Watson's Discord channel. One like through him, like it's his buddy read, and the other as kind of an offshoot. Like a few of us in his server decided that we want to buddy read some comic books. So there's a comic book that I read also. But first I want to talk about the one that was read as Andrew Watson's like formal buddy read, and that was Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. I don't know how I feel about this book. I gave it a 3.5, and I think I stand by that. And I want to be clear that I did like it. Like, I did enjoy the book. So what do I mean by I don't know how I feel about it when I'm telling you exactly how I felt about it? Like, I gave it a 3.5, and I liked it, right? But I don't know why. I don't know why I liked it. I can't figure it out. I don't know what it is about this. I feel like I was just reading it, and then it ended, and I was done reading it. But I wasn't, like, fully engaged at any point, but I always wanted to pick it up. Like I was looking forward to it when I wasn't reading it, and then when I was reading it, I was having a good time, but at no point did I feel like fully connected to the story, and I don't fully know why that is. It's possible that it's because of kind of the structure and like the way that it's written, because it does utilize a framing narrative. I think the whole series, really, at least the full-length novels in the series, utilize the same structure, the same framing narrative. And if you don't know what a framing narrative is, it just essentially means that we're being told the story from the main character. So they're kind of retelling what happened, their life story is essentially what that means. So in this one specifically, we're kind of reading the main character's book, like the book that he wrote, because he's talking to you every now and then as like the reader. So he says like, "Dear reader," and things like that. And it's pretty much a book penned by Hadrian Marlowe, and he is just recounting his story. What I was afraid of with that was that it wasn't going to feel like the stakes were never going to feel real, because I know this is book one in a series that's like ongoing. So everything that happens here, when it feels dangerous, or, you know, if I'm worried that Hadrian is going to die, I know that he's not, because he wrote this book after these events. So obviously he's not dead. And I thought that was going to remove a lot of the tension. It did not. It didn't at all. I didn't have that problem at all. And I actually think it was really, really well done. I haven't read other books that utilize the framing narrative. I don't think, at least. Like I haven't read all the big ones. Like Name of the Wind is a big one that uses this kind of framing narrative. So yeah, I don't have a lot to compare it to, but this felt like it was a really cool maybe twist, or just like way to do it. Like I said, our main character, Hadrian Marlowe, is writing this book. He's essentially the author of this book, and he is retelling a very detailed account of his life. But one of the things that is done that I think was really cool was that he's writing to the reader, obviously, right? The person writing a book writes it for their reader, but the reader that he's writing for, he assumes knows how his story ends. I don't know how his story ends. I've only read book 1, but he assumes that I do have my own preconceived notions of who he is and like my own picture of him, my own impressions of him, my own judgments of him. And so he is writing kind of around that. And he's like, I know you think I'm a monster, but I'm just telling you my story. This is how it was. This is how it happened. This is why I came to be the Sun Eater, right? Like that's the name of the series, and you know that's not a secret. It's right away. He tells you who he is. He tells you that he blew up a sun and killed, I think, like an entire species. So we know that because he's telling us that, but we don't really know it. We don't know it the way that he assumes you know it. So sometimes he'll mention a character and this really cool thing happens where you as the reader, you almost forget that this is utilizing a framing narrative. And then he kind of breaks that fourth wall a little bit. And he's like, oh, I saw a kid kicking a soccer ball down the street. Little did I know that was going to end up being my greatest war rival or something, right? That is a very fake example. That does not happen in the book. That I did not spoil anything for you. But that sort of thing where he will talk to somebody or he'll pick something up, right? He'll pick up a knife and he's like, this is the knife that I would later use to kill so-and-so. And you're like, oh, okay. I didn't know you were going to kill that person. Or I didn't know that person was going to be your rival or, you know, things like that, which I thought was really interesting because it didn't feel spoilery. Like I didn't feel like he was ruining any future surprises, but somehow the way it was done, it gave my brain like a little like, oh, like that, this character that I might assume is going to just be a background character, they're going to be really important. So maybe save this away somewhere for later, which was really cool. So I liked that a lot. The only real criticisms that I could have is that a lot of what I read here in this first book felt like it was kind of, I don't even know how to say it. Like it almost felt insignificant, if that makes sense. Specifically, some of the characters. I feel like there's a lot of characters in the book that are brought up, and I think that a lot of them kind of seemed to just disappear after a few pages, and it's like, okay, like that's fine, but did we need them? And like maybe they'll come back in later, but if they don't, then why were they here? And I don't necessarily know that I feel like satisfied with all of the characters' involvements, and some of the side characters I feel like should have been fleshed out more. Some of them I feel like maybe could have been fleshed out less, but I don't know yet because I don't know the full story. So maybe by the end of like book 4 or whatever, I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's makes so much sense that he mentioned this small, seemingly insignificant experience that he had, because now I can see later down the line how it impacted him. So I'm not really sure. Like I said, somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4 for me. Very excited to move on to the next book in the series. There's a short story or a novella that I want to read before I pick up book 2. The short story or novella, I just can't remember which one it is called The Lesser Devil, and it follows, or it switches kind of point of view, I believe, to our main character's brother, which is cool because I am interested to know more about that character. I'll probably read The Lesser Devil sometime this month, and then in the month of March, Andrew Watson's buddy read is going to be picking up book 2. So I will be following along with that as best I can. The other buddy read that was going on in Andrew Watson's Discord channel, like I had mentioned, was a comic book buddy read, and so for that one, it was our first comic club buddy read, and we picked up Batman Year One. This was a reread from me, and I already knew that I loved it, and I read it again, and I loved it again. It was really good. This is, it's short. I'm not going to talk too long about this. It's kind of a classic, and also the name is Batman Year One, so you kind of know what this is. It's sort of an origin story, or not really an origin, although it does touch on Batman's origins, but it's just showing you kind of the first year of Batman trying to become Batman. But it also kind of could have been called Commissioner Gordon Year One or Selina Kyle Year One, because it gives us kind of the story of those characters as well. Like Commissioner Gordon is a big part of this book, and it's his coming to Gotham City and his like becoming who he is as Commissioner Gordon and Batman's like buddy, you know? So that's all I'll really say about this, because again, if you like comic books and you like Batman, this is almost required reading. So either you have read this and you don't need me to tell you more about it, or you haven't and all you need me to tell you is that you really should read this. I don't like telling people that they have to read something, but really, if you like Batman and you like comic books, I do think that you should do yourself a favor and pick this up, not just because it's fantastic, but because it lays a lot of groundwork, and I think it's important. Now, moving on from books I've completed in the month of January, I want to talk about books that I started in the month of January that I'm still working my way through. I did put out a video at the beginning of January where I asked for help from you to help me decide what I wanted to read next. I got a lot of comments on that all were very helpful, but all made really strong cases for kind of every book that I listed. So what did I do? I listened to everybody, and I started almost all of those books. One of those books being Empire of Silence, which we already talked about, and the next one that I picked up being The Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs. This so far has been really good. It's a book about dinosaurs. It's a nonfiction, which I wanted to read more nonfiction this year, so off to a good start. It's also helping me with the Historathon challenge that I'm trying to do this year, which is like that I read a book from a different time period each quarter of the year. And so this is my prehistoric time period pick, Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs. It's mostly a book about dinosaurs, right? But it's also seems to be a book about paleontology and our author, Steve Brissett, their life as a paleontologist. So far, I'm only like 40 pages in, honestly, because I just pick it up here and there. It's really cool. It's really well written. But I will say that the paleontology bits are a little less interesting to me, mostly because it almost feels like a lot of name dropping, but name dropping names that I've never heard before. So the author will be like, and then I talked to this guy over here. And you're like, okay, I don't care about that. I don't know who that guy is. So he'll tell you a little bit about it. I'm like, all right, cool. Like he has these accomplishments. I don't know what those are even. Like, so I don't know that I care about those, but whatever. It's still, you know, good for him. Good for him for knowing those people. Sure. But get to the dinosaurs. I like hearing about the discoveries that he's made and things like that. So has been very interesting. Again, only like 40 pages in or something like that, but I'm slowly working my way through that and liking it. A few people also said that I should pick up Harbinger of Justice by, you guessed it, Andrew Watson, who I've already talked about in this video. But if you don't know, he is a booktuber, he is an author, and he is a cool guy. So I've been reading his book. I am just about halfway through this one, and I'm having a good time. It's really fun. I mentioned it in that video. I don't have a lot of time to just like sit down and read a physical book, and I don't have the audio, or there is no audiobook for this one. So I'm going a lot slower through it than I am with some of the other books that I'm going to talk about, but not because I'm not enjoying it at all. It's been really cool. It's been darker than I expected, and I had already expected that it was going to be pretty dark, but Andrew's such a nice guy, and then he writes this book, and I'm like, whoa, who hurt you? What happened to you, Andrew? But regardless, really, really good. I again, can't tell you much. I'm only halfway through, but our two sort of main characters are really cool. The setting is awesome, and I'm really liking the slow unveil of like the magic system in here, or you know, like we're learning kind of, we learn what the magic system is somewhat early, like loosely, and we're getting just more and more of it, but we're also getting kind of the backstory of like how the magic system gets into the world, and it's really neat. Anyway, again, not going to talk more about it because I'm only about halfway through it, but really, really, really enjoying that. So those are my two physical reads. You know, I own the book physically, and I'm reading it with my eyes. Those are those books. And then I also always have an audiobook going. So the audiobook that I have going right now is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This has been recommended to me by a lot of people. Most recently, Laura over at Hardy's Books read this and just gushed over it, devoured it, like read it in a couple days, I think, or at least it felt like that as an observer, and loved it. Had really good things to say about it. And it's like a very cozy book. And that sounded good to me, so I picked it up. The audiobook is only like 12 hours. I'm listening to it at like 2 times speed. So I'm already more than halfway through the book, and again, I'm really liking it. It's really sweet so far, and I'm looking forward to more of that, to finishing it off. Honestly, probably like tomorrow, because it's really good. I'm just tearing through it on audio. So this has been really, really fun. I'm looking forward to giving more thoughts about this when I finish it. Maybe a full review is needed for that one. And outside of those 3, I'm only really reading one other thing right now, and that is Ken Liu's The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories. Now, this one is one that I'm reading as part of like a buddy read that I'm hosting. So if you want to join in, you can click the link down in the description to join the Fable where I'm kind of hosting that. This one, I have fallen behind just a little bit because, again, I was really sick last week and I couldn't physically read anything. Like, I had no focus for that, so I couldn't pick this up at all last week. And so I'm a short story behind. We're doing one short story a week over there, but I'm feeling better, and I'm going to catch up on that story tonight and then probably read this week's story like tomorrow so that I can be fully caught up. But I'm having a lot of fun reading this book. Not every story has like hit for me, but the ones that have been really fun. So I'm looking forward to it. It sounds like from what I've read in the Fable, that the 2 stories that I haven't read yet, that others have been really good. So I'm very much looking forward to that. It seems like they're getting better and better. And that's it. So that's what I read. That's what I'm currently reading. And now, what am I going to read as the month progresses? I have 3 books in front of me here that I'm between, or not between. I want to read all of these. So I think my next audiobook read, as soon as I finish The House in the Cerulean Sea, which again should be like tomorrow, if not tomorrow, then the next day, I'm going to pick up the audiobook for Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. I have not read The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wang, which is their like big book, like their claim to fame. Everybody loves that book. Everybody says it's fantastic. I haven't picked it up yet, but again, Andrew Watson is hosting a buddy read, and I am reading this as part of that. So we'll be picking this up within the next couple of days. It's, again, not very long. The audiobook is just over 15 hours, and again, I'll probably read it at at least 1.5 speed, because that's just, I generally do that. But it sounds really cool. The author sounds great. I read just barely the beginning of chapter 1 just because I was curious, and so far, yeah, really liking it. I could see myself loving this just from the little bit that I read. So I'm very excited for that one. Now, obviously, I said I'm going to pick this up on audio, and you're looking at me hold the physical book. I'll probably do some sort of like immersion, like tandem reading with the physical and the audio. And I'm doing that because it's available on Spotify, and I pay for Spotify Premium. So you get 15 hours of an audiobook every month. And this is going to be my Spotify audiobook for the month, the Blood Over Brighthaven, because it's on there, and it's, again, just over 15 hours long. But the if I increase the reading speed like at all, then that brings it to under 15 hours. So easy, done, nice, love it. As for my next read for my peepers, I'm going to be reading Assassin's Apprentice. This was also mentioned in that video where I asked people for help, and everybody said I should read it. I picked Harbinger of Justice first because his next book comes out this month on Valentine's Day, but I want to pick up Assassin's Apprentice after I read Harbinger of Justice. I've talked several times here about how badly I want to read Robin Hobb and how convinced I am that I'm going to love her style and her stories. So very, very excited to pick this one up as well. I do know myself, and I do know that it being a book that I'm going to read with my eyes, it will take me a little longer. So this one specifically, I will probably not finish this month, but I will be very surprised if I don't at least start this one this month. I'm very much looking forward to picking this up. And lastly, I am going to be picking up Spider-Man Blue. And this, again, is part of that comic club buddy read thing over on Andrew Watson's Discord channel. This, again, is a reread for me. So far, both of the books that we've chosen in that have been rereads for me, but I think that's fun. That is like fundamental Batman comic book that you should read. And this feels like it fits a similar bill, but for Spider-Man. So it's a very different story, very different characters, very different artwork, all that stuff, but really good story for Spider-Man. It's a little bit of a tearjerker too, so it's really good. If you like Spider-Man and you like comic books, I do think this is one that you should pick up as well. So if you're interested in picking that up, do it and join us on the buddy read over there. And so that's pretty much it. At least, that's all the book stuff I want to talk about today. I'll just really quickly go over the fact that January was a really good month for the channel as a whole. I put out 4 videos and they all did pretty well. I'm very pleased with how those videos did, especially the video that I did about how I got into reading and talked about, some reading tips that I had that for whatever reason seemed to circulate, which was really cool. So that brought in a lot of new eyes to the channel, which was really cool. So if you are here as a result of watching that video, hello, thank you so much for stopping by in the first place. And thank you so much for coming back for more. I really appreciated all the comments in that video too. There were a lot of comments, which again, I've said this multiple times before, but that is the best part of this. So I very much loved having conversations with people in those comments, talking about the tips that I gave and hearing a little bit of tips that other people have. So that was a lot of fun. I think that was my favorite video that I've done in a while. That was really fun to make and fun to kind of watch as people interacted with it. And then I also put up my very first book review, formal book review dedicated to a single book. Again, Wind and Truth is the one that I talked about there. And I had, again, a lot of fun doing that. So I'm looking forward to incorporating more dedicated reviews into like the channel, even though it was a very different timeline from some of the other videos that I put up. Like I think the first 2 or 3 days it had like 50 to 80 views or something, which was really interesting because it's just different. Usually I put up a video and it does well, and then it trickles off, right? Like I get a lot of views all at once, or not a lot, but whatever. I get views all at once, and then they trickle off, and it stops over time. But it's been kind of the opposite with the Wind and Truth review, where it was sort of a slow build up, and it just kind of keeps climbing right now. So it's doing decently well, and that's just cool to see. It was a very different video to make. It was a very different video for the channel, and I'm excited to make more of those. It was a good one to kind of get out there, even though it was a big book and it had a big impact, but it was also like a book 5 of a really long series. So like really low stakes, but it felt good to get it out there and to just do my first review with that. Fitting too that my first review would be of a Brandon Sanderson book when he is the author that I credit with getting me kind of back into reading in the first place. So that was all really good. I also made a little intro and outro like video that I've been putting on the beginning and the end of all my videos this month, or at least 3 of them, I think. Yeah, and that was really fun to make. Both of those were fun to make, and so I've been playing with those and tweaking them a little bit as they go. Let me know if you have any feedback, if you like that I've been adding them, or if you think that they're kind of dumb and think that I should take them off, whatever. I can continue to tweak them, and I'm sure I will regardless. But those are really fun to make, and as I've enjoyed having them on the videos at least. Now, I usually talk a little bit more in detail of like channel stats and things like that, but we're already a week into February, and so it doesn't feel like it's the true numbers. So I don't want to give too much of that, but I will just mention that at the end of last year, at the end of December of 2024, we had 424 subscribers, and that was amazing. That is amazing. And then I just will mention that today, sitting here in my chair looking at my total subscribers, we are at 547 subscribers. So just again, that's insane, and I just wanted to say thank you again to everybody who has ever clicked that button. I really appreciate it, and thank you for coming back for more if you are here watching now. It has been very fun watching the community grow and watching the comment numbers go up and things like that. So thank you again for your time. At the end of these videos, I usually give sort of an outline of what I think the month is going to look like in terms of videos that I put up on the channel. I don't really know yet for this month. I know that next week I will be putting up another one of my TBR culling videos, so I'm looking forward to that. I always love getting back into that series, and maybe I'll do another book review this month. I'm not really sure, but I think that could be really fun. But yeah, generally, I'm not really sure what videos you should expect from me this month, to be completely honest. So we'll see what happens, but I'm looking forward to figuring that out, and I will see you there when I do it. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.